All right, guys, we actually got one about RuneScape today. Let's watch it.
Okay, so I'm a World of Warcraft player, and I've always wanted to try old school RuneScape due to its massive...
I feel like people don't really tend to jump games very much, and that's the thing that I always think people are missing out on. I've played almost every single MMO that is available to people in the world, and I've played them for hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours each. And by doing this, I have learned a lot of things about the mechanics of all of these games and how they're intertwined and how they work together. And I really think that people are missing out by only playing one single game. Now, if you are somebody who is super high level in World of Warcraft and you're always, every single new patch, you're out there in the newest raids, you're getting top of the leaderboards, you're doing your thing, that's what you like to do, that's totally fine. I'm not trying to pass judgment on you or anything. But bro, how long do you have to play the same game for before you're tired of it? I do not, it's hard for me to wrap my brain around people who can play a game for 15,000 hours without having intermissions of other games. And when there's a game like RuneScape that's so popular and it's free, how does that not appeal to you to the point that you need to go try it? How do you not watch Settled's videos and you think, I need to see what this game's all about?
Popularity. But I've tried to get into it a few times, and I've got some issues with it. Because what would happen is I'd make my character or account or whatever.
Let's hear what he says, because I feel like I've heard all of the complaints about RuneScape before. It's not flashy, it's not quick, it's not fun, it's not enjoyable. Yeah, dude, all of these things are true. It mirrors real life in that way. You have to play it for a long time before you start to understand the enjoyment of it. It's about the exploration. If you didn't hit it as a kid, it's definitely going to be harder to get into. But when you were a child, clicking around in Lumbridge for the first time, when you cast Windstrike for the first time, when you killed your first Lesser Demon, when you completed Dragon Slayer, bro, this game leaves a mark on you.
Whatever the hell they call it. And
he's out here with his inventory. This dude's nuts. He doesn't even understand.
I'd run around. I found some quests. I chopped some trees, but I had no freaking clue what I was actually supposed to be working
good.
towards.
You're not supposed to.
I mean, sure,
not
maybe getting all of my skills to 99, but like, I don't know the best way of going about doing.
Yeah, you're not really trying to get all of your skills to 99. I mean, eventually you are, obviously, but your first 10 years of RuneScape are about making memories, bro. Walk to the gnome stronghold, you know? Get to Camelot. Do Merlin's Crystal. Do those things. Enjoy your time in this world where it's fresh before you can draw a map of it in your brain. Do the waterfall quest. Understand that this is an adventure that you're going to embark on for the rest of your life, and you're never going to stop being on this adventure.
So, I don't know. I just sort of felt lost going into it. So, of course,
you are lost. Lost in a world where you've never played RuneScape before, and now you're found, baby. You're found by the RuneScape gods. You've logged into one of the most enthralling games of all time. Something that you will think about when you go to sleep at night.
What anyone else would do.
There is so much of my life that is spent going, man, I wish I had the time to invest in RuneScape right now. I only play RuneScape whenever I know that I have a good month to just screw around with, or when I have a good 48-hour period that I think, oh, I'm not going to sleep during this 48 hours. It's the only time I can play RuneScape because it sucks you in. I
looked up some YouTube guides. I'm like, surely there's some new player guides out there that can set me up for success.
It's so hard to do a new player guide for RuneScape. This is something that I think of a lot. RuneScape content in general is really difficult to make because no matter what you show people in the content, it doesn't convey the true nature of the game. The problem with RuneScape content is very simple. Everything that you see taking 20 minutes in a RuneScape video will take you 20 hours to do in the actual game. Simple things. You know, go do these 5 quests, do Cook's Assistant, do Demon Slayer, do Shield of Arav, do Doric's Quest, do Night Sword. What's that one called? Night Sword? It's Under the Mountain? No, that's a new one. Do those quests, and you think, oh, this won't take me any time at all. If you're somebody with no gold and no resources, and you're trying to do those 5 quests, and you've never played RuneScape before, you are in for 10 hours of your life.
But I feel like this did not help.
Maybe more than that.
Help at all. They pretty much just say things like, oh, just do whatever you want. Just go focus on this piece of content.
This is all coming from people who have played this game to the point that they can close their eyes and see themselves chopping down logs. That's where this is coming from. And the problem with people who don't understand that that's what they're saying to people is that what you when you ask what should I do in RuneScape as a new player, the question that you're asking is how do I enjoy this game? And that's just it. You have to enjoy this game. I can't do it for you. You have to go in there and you have to run around and explore and play and learn and do all the things that you do in any other game. You just have to realize that RuneScape is a really well-loved and enjoyed game, and if you're going into it trying to beat it, you're going into it the wrong way. You just are. You don't get to max level. That's not your goal here. Your goal is to experience a world that is complicated and interwoven in a way that very few other worlds are. That all the skills sort of mesh together in this really interesting way. That content is unlocked by doing content, not by leveling up and then queuing up for a raid. That's not what you do in RuneScape. You learn by playing. Just the same way that you would in any other game, but on a much longer time scale and a much denser amount of things that you have to learn how to do. Elden Ring is such an interesting. I almost want to give Elden Ring sort of this kind of likeness to RuneScape in that way. That yes, you can watch guides, but if you've never played a Souls game before, the journey that you're in for is going to be insane because the skills that you're going to have to build up are so numerous. And it's the same way in RuneScape that like you can take a day and just learn how to get from level 1 to 40 in woodcutting, but that's 12 hours of your life that you've now spent learning to do something that's such a small fraction of that one single skill, and you don't even know how it ties into everything else. You don't know how taking that skill and training fletching off of that skill, or taking that skill and using it for certain quests, or that you need to have that in order to do Lost City. These things that you have no idea about, that these requirements that you have no idea about. You walk around and you find people with that little quest marker, and you just don't know the can of worms that you're opening when you click on that person. It's such a different thing.
Piece of content. And I'm just sitting here thinking, like, bruh.
I remember the first time I ever took Tiff into RuneScape. This was a few years back because I had gotten on another kick of playing it, and I've been on several kicks of playing it over the time that we had been hanging out. And she was really confused, obviously. And I was sort of taking her around and showing her a little bit of Lumbridge and stuff, and I got her some magic runes. And then she killed some stuff and leveled up, and I was like, hey, if you find anything that you're interested in, let me know because I can show you how to do it really quickly. And she's like, well, how do I train my magic really fast? And then I introduced her to splashing, or to the lesser demon, or to going and killing ogres and things, and finding ways to spark that mind of hers to go, oh, there's so much to do in this game. And then before I knew it, she was training fishing and crafting and fletching and just all of these different things because she had seen this sort of machine that she didn't understand before. And it's
I don't even know how half the systems and mechanics even work in the game. Nonetheless, the content they've added throughout the years, I don't know how it benefits my character or what I would want to do.
You want to do everything.
All of that insane amount of content.
You want to do everything because if you want the good stuff, you have to do everything. It's such a bizarre notion to people that you can't just go and buy the best weapons. You have to go and play the game and unlock content to get your fighter torso, to get your fire cape, to get your helm of Nezi. You have to get your Barrows gloves. There's so much content that you have to do just to get the best in slot weapons, and they're the best in slot gear. And in order to do that content, you have to train a whole bunch of skills, so you have to get all these skills up. It's not like a game where you just raise a level,
So I just wrote...
And I'm not trying to point that RuneScape is better than everything else. This is a very specific type of game, and one that I super have to be in the mood to just absolutely dump my life into. But I'm in the mood to do it very often, especially once you get more and more comfortable and you understand more. Like, when I learned about Nightmare Zone, I realized that I would never have to learn about Nightmare Zone again. That was in my brain forever, and that's just a part of this game that you understand for the rest of your life. And because of that, it takes away that burden of not knowing something. And I know this exists in other games, but man, I played World of Warcraft for over 100 hours without really having any idea how to actually play World of Warcraft. And I got a max level account, you know?
The game off as not being for me. I'm like, you know what? Old school RuneScape, you know, I'm sure it's popular for a reason, for, you know, nostalgic reasons or whatever,
no,
but
dude.
It's just not for me.
I mean, nostalgia definitely plays into it.
You see, 2 of my friends came to me and they said, hey, Jonas, want to do an old school RuneScape Iron Man playthrough with us? And I'm like, sure, but what the hell is Iron Man? And so I was introduced to the wonderful world of Ironscape.
Steal from that nature rune tress. Go and kill tree spirits. Oh, man.
So me and my friends
It just gets you hyped, dude. I miss that era of gaming in a way that I can't even explain. FunOrb was also a really good site in general. If you guys remember when Jagex and FunOrb were this coagulated thing. The game Arcanist on FunOrb was an extremely fun game to play. There was a time period where you could hang out on the Jagex website and really just entertain yourself
created
endlessly.
Our group Iron Man, which we also put on hardcore, which gives us 4 lives, basically, among the group, since there was 4 of us, and, well, we've already used 3 out of 4 of our lives, so it's safe to say that hasn't been going too well, but I've been learning a lot, and to be fair, I only used 1 of those lives. It was one of my friends who, he died twice, so I blame him. But at least, unlike WoW, in hardcore, if you die and use up all your lives, it just converts you back to normal Iron Man. So at least I don't have to worry about starting over. So anyways, it was nice because I now had 2 friends who have been playing the game for a very long time who could finally give me a bit of direction and tell me what the hell I should actually be doing in this game.
As an example, he just got his Ghost Speak amulet, or he's at least doing he has his Ghost Speak amulet. So he just got his Ghost Speak amulet. That comes into play so much over the course of this game, and this is a quest that you do and can do within the first 10 minutes of you logging into RuneScape. And that item is so important later for Ghost Ahoy, for the Ectofunctus or whatever it's called. It's just so much stuff that comes into play later on. Quick ways of training your prayer, quests that you have to do later on, transportation that you have to use later on. Those things are all necessitate that you do this quest first. And in fact, those quests will be barred off if you haven't done this quest and gotten this Ghost Speak amulet. And a lot of things in RuneScape work this way. There is a tutorial, but the real tutorial of the game is the early game content. The understanding of how RuneScape works, the understanding that everything is going to be interconnected, and not until you master the systems that are at play, not until you understand what the purpose of every item in your inventory is, will you be able to conquer high-level content. Now, this is a challenge that is unlike anything else in video gaming, realistically. This is something that will take you more time than a reasonable person would be willing to invest, but what you get out of it is an experience that by nature burns itself into your brain. If you are looking for a video game that leaves a mark on you the way that video games used to, if you play enough of RuneScape and commit yourself to it, it will do that. It is designed to leave a mark on you because of how complicated it is and how much of your conscious effort it takes to play through it. It will become part of you.
So I asked them, what should I do? And they said, just focus on questing, which kind of caught me off guard because I was before that just kind of focusing on random skills here and there, but they said, screw that, just quest.
Questing makes you skill. That's how it works. You will figure out items that you want. You will figure out benefits that you want to unlock in the game, and you will see quests that you have to do in order to unlock those benefits. And then you will have to level up your skills to get there. You want to do Tombs of Amasket? There's a whole bunch of quests that you have to do in order to get to that point, and all of those quests have skill requirements, so that will push you to do that. But if you go and look at the branching paths of the quests that you have to do in order to get into Tombs of Amasket, you will see that they all have prerequisite quests as well, and it will lead you all the way down to the bottom. And then you have your play style figured out. You have your path figured out through the game. And then, if you really want to take it to the next level, you figure out what those skill requirements are. You go and figure out what quests give you the most XP for those skills, and then you do those quests as well, so that not only are you leveling up your skills, but you're also knocking out multiple birds with one stone. You're getting other quests done. This game is the epitome of never do one thing at a time. You can always optimize further. You can always tick manipulate. You can always be doing multiple skills at one time. And that's the secret to RuneScape. That not only it's a game that you can either not play at all because it's super AFKable, or you can play it more than any other game that you've ever played. You can have the most intense, hyper-focused, every 0.6 seconds have to be doing something different experience that you've ever had.
That is the most efficient thing you can do right now. So that is exactly what I did.
I hate to just shill for RuneScape, but it is such a good
sent
game.
Me halfway across the world.
The development of this, I mean, it just blows my mind to think about the level of thinking and the forethought that went into designing the systems in this game.
To random locations completely in the middle of nowhere. And I kind of realized, you know what? I'm not really doing things too efficiently right now. And so I asked my friends about it, and they introduced me to the best thing yet, the Iron Man Efficiency Guide.
Oh, yeah?
And I gotta say, this guide, oh my goodness, it is so good. It tells you what quests you should do, what skills you should do up to a certain point, what you should have in your inventory at any given moment, you know, what you should bank. Like, dude, this guide gives you, and it has a checklist too.
Yeah.
So you can just go through it step by step. And oh my god, I have never played so efficiently. And you know what? There's people out there, say what you will about a new player following a guide. I don't care.
Do it, man. If that's what you need, if that's the thing that you want, if you're not someone who wants to just go fumble around in this world, then for sure, Godspeed. Go for it and do it. I think that a guide is a great thing. These resources are newer things that have come out over the past decade for this game, and they're super helpful. Most people don't want to tool around like that. Most people don't want to have that experience. Still following this guide, this game will leave a huge mark on you.
I'm learning so much from this guide that I would have taken way too long to figure out how to do on my own. Like minigame teleports. I had no idea you could get around the world by just teleporting to minigames, or even the Chronicle. I didn't know there was like a book I could buy that teleports me around. Like, I had been walking everywhere around the world up to this point.
Yep.
I mean, just little things. Like, I would have had no idea that to buy a house, you had to go talk.
The travel system in RuneScape is, I mean, it's one of the greatest travel systems that has ever been introduced into a game. You have to earn it. You have to earn all of the different teleports that are really, really, really useful later on. It is not just given to you. There is no fast travel in this game. It all comes through skills and quests and items. And it is so expertly done that you don't need mounts. You don't need fast travel. You don't need anything but run speed, walk speed, stamina potions, and teleports. That's all you need in this game.
Talk to like some estate dude, and then you would also need 10k just to buy a basic house. Like, I would have had no idea how to make 10k.
So easy.
But little did I realize you can just steal linen from this random little shop.
Sure, or you can do the Stronghold of Security.
Wait a half hour, and then just sell it right back to the linen shopkeeper for an easy 10k. Like, this man must have some serious short-term memory loss, because this man just got absolutely robbed for the past 2 hours, and then a half hour later, he just forgot he got robbed, and he's like, "Oh, you'd like to sell me some linen?
Thank
Sure."
God, I'm out of it.
And I think
Someone
that
stole
kind
it
of
earlier.
applies to all the shopkeepers in this game, so maybe dementia is just sort of like a pretty regular thing for NPCs to have in this game. So I'm just gonna go with that headcanon on this. But anyways, the guide is really good, and I'm finally at the point now where I get to focus on doing Wintertod, which, if you don't know what that is, it's basically like a little in-game event that you essentially, you chop some roots for logs, and then you fletch those logs into sticks, and then you throw the sticks into like a fire pit brazier, and the
Wintertod is probably one of the greatest additions to the game for a long time as far as skilling quality of life goes. And especially because it's for a skill that most people don't care about. So that's why I think it flew under the radar and people were okay with it coming in. There's a culture in RuneScape that I'm not a super huge fan of that kind of goes along the lines of, well, we all had to struggle super hard, so now you have to struggle through this experience as well. And the reason for that is because RuneScape 3, when it came out, when the Evolution of Combat came out and all those games came, there was a huge section of the population of the players of the game who felt like they had been robbed from their experience and that things were being nerfed and made super easy to the point that their achievements no longer meant anything. Your achievements don't mean anything in a video game anyways. We can talk about that another time, but it's really difficult to get new skilling methods into RuneScape for this reason. In fact, the best skilling methods usually all cause carpal tunnel, but Wintertod is the exception to this, and I think there should be more of it, honestly.
fire pit kills the winter beast thing. Yeah, it's a bit weird, but
RuneScape is a bit
and
weird.
It rewards you well for doing it. So
I don't know if any of you guys have ever done this, but if you go through and you actually read all of the text, your character is such a buffoon, and he just walks through this world and just does whatever people ask for him because he wants to complete those sweet, sweet quests, and he does horrible, horrible war crimes because of that. It's so interesting the way that you start off just making a cake for a cook, and you end up killing a king.
Here we are. And when I say it rewards you well, I mean it rewards you well. Like, basically, every time you throw a stick into the fire pit, you get 25 points. And so when you get to 500 points, that means you get a loot crate that'll have 2 pieces of loot in it. And then every 500 points after that, you get an additional piece of loot in that loot crate. And this loot can be anything from like some really cool warm armor pieces to a whole bunch of different resources to just straight up gold.
It's so magical to watch somebody who doesn't play this game, to see it through the lens of a World of Warcraft player who is thinking about, oh, it gives you this cool armor, it gives you this gold, or all of this stuff. Like, the thing that is interesting about RuneScape players is that we could care less about the majority of all of this. Now, late game, obviously, Fashionscape, we all love Fashionscape. That's what we do. I get it. But we like that armor because of the XP boosts. That's why we like that armor. We are aware that when you get to level 92 after years of grinding, you're only halfway to level 99.
And then there's even, like, my friends are talking about some like dragon axe that you can get in it, which I don't know why that's good, but apparently it's important, so they say. But I'm pretty much going to be doing Wintertod for the foreseeable future, because I'm pretty much going to be doing it till I have about 200k gold.
He's playing through Steam? Bro, get Runelight. Do you have Runelight? He's using Runelight. Okay.
My fire making is at about 85. My friends seem to think I should stick around until I get to 99 fire making, but they also told me half of 99 XP-wise is 92.
Getting max levels is something that you do in RuneScape once you understand the game and you've played a lot of it and you don't have anything else to do that feels new to you. So then you start cracking out 99s. I'm at 92 strength. That's the highest skill that I have on my account. I've been playing for a really, really long time, and there is plenty of other stuff to do that is much more interesting than getting 99 fire making. Not that it's not a valuable thing, but I think that you need to balance the fun with the grind in order to be a successful long-term player in this game, because it's so easy to fall into that trap. And I see lots of young new players who are coming here on Reddit and all these things talking about how, I've played for 300 hours over the last 30 days. Here's my skills. And they have 86 strength and 85 attack, and they have 79 fishing, and they're obviously just trying to skill as hard as they can. And they've never even experienced the game up to this point. And I just find that that's sort of robbing yourself of the joy that you actually can get from playing RuneScape. It's not just a dick measuring contest for how high you can get your skills. They all cap at 99. We watch Settled not because he has 99s, but because he knows more about this game than anybody else in the world.
Yeah. I don't think my brain
or at least the PvE section of this
wrap
game.
around how much time that's going to take. I'm actually starting to form my own goals now. Like early on in the game, when you just start playing, it's really hard to come up with your own goals.
Because there's really everything to do. Because you haven't done anything yet. You don't know what you're trying to do. There's so much to do that you can't. You don't even know what a fire cape is. How can you know that's your goal to get a fire cape? And how can you know what you need to do in order to get that fire cape?
I don't know what there even is to work towards, but now that I've been following this guide and playing a bit, I'm seeing people with really cool things, and I'm thinking like, wow, I want to work towards that. I want to get that. And that is, I think, what the game is all about. And maybe it just takes following a little guide or having a bit of direction to get to that point. Also, can we just talk about for a second how much of an absolute banger Sea Shanty 2 is?
These videos weird me out a little bit because I feel like that these guys kind of know about the in-jokes of RuneScape and they're playing to them in order to get to the crowds who already like these games. But to me, him saying this about Sea Shanty 2, it's just like, man, if you were playing it for the first time and you were hearing all of the music in RuneScape, would that be the one that stands out to you? I don't know. But if you already know that that's a popular song, that's where I think that this kind of moment comes from in a video. It does slap, though. I mean, obviously.
But it is very interesting coming into this game from the perspective of being a World of Warcraft player, because this is a very different type of MMO. In World of Warcraft, when you start playing, you automatically have a sense of direction because you know you just need to get to the next level. And
it was interesting going to other MMOs from RuneScape is the thing that I think I would like to mention. It doesn't just work one direction. I went from RuneScape originally to the next game that I played online was Adventure Quest, which isn't even an online-based game. It's a flash game that you play in your browser. And I never even played a true grind-heavy, get-to-the-next-level MMO until MapleStory, I would assume. That was probably the next one that I played. And going from RuneScape to MapleStory was like a whole entire different game. RuneScape isn't the combat, the combat, the movement. Those things aren't fun in RuneScape. That's not where the fun comes from. The fun comes from this weird sense of accomplishment that you get from discovering how this world works and then making a plan to forge your way through it and following through on that plan. That's what's fun about RuneScape. And in MapleStory, in World of Warcraft, in Guild Wars, and Final Fantasy XIV, and all of those things, the game is just fun to interact with physically with your hands. Holding a controller, playing with a mouse and keyboard feels exciting when you're moving your character around and attacking enemies. That is where the fun and the joy really comes from, for me at least. I know a lot of people enjoy skilling in those games too, but for me, that's the difference between RuneScape and those games. I didn't even put RuneScape in the same bucket as those other games for a really long time. Like, I know it's an MMO. I know that it gets grouped with all those other games, but it doesn't feel the same to me. It feels like its own little genre of game that you don't see anymore, but was kind of popular back then. There were a lot of weird little indie games that people were making that were server-based, where you had lots and lots of skills to grind up, and you had no real sense of direction. I can't remember what a lot of them were called at this point because they were so random, but I mean, we're talking games that had less than 300 megabyte download. man, I can't remember what a lot of these are. There was one that I remember really distinctly. I should try to find some of these lists of old MMOs that were coming out at that point in time and go through them and see how many of them I remember, because I tried every single thing that I could get to run on my computer. Everything from Latel to Allieds Online. I mean, just anything that I could get my hands on at that point. And there's so many games that are lost of time that did have this sort of element.
And then the level after that, and then eventually max level. But in this game, when you start, you kind of don't really know what you're supposed to be doing or what you should be focusing on, because there's just a bunch of random skills with a different level associated with all of them, so you kind of feel a bit lost. So honestly, having some friends that are experienced with the game to get into it with has been so helpful. And normally I'm not an advocate for following guides on first playthroughs of games, but in a game so open-ended like...
I think it's fine for basically any MMO. If you're playing World of Warcraft, there is such a complicated thing going on in that game, being the meta of the world, that you have no idea. And there's so many systems that are all about improving your gear that you need to sort of be keeping up with while you're getting to late game, or else you'll get to late game, you'll have no idea what's going on, even as far as getting tier pieces. So I do think that it's okay, and you need to Google things, and you need to figure things out however you do it. I think that this is how we would have learned before. We just would have went around and asked people instead of Googling
like this, where it's really hard to even know what the goals you would want to pursue are. A guide like the Iron Man Efficiency Guide can help a lot. And in contrast to a game like WoW, I mean, I'd call you crazy to use a guide starting out, because the game just gives you so much direction right off the bat. You learn very quickly that if you do quests, it gives you experience, and experience makes you level up. It's as simple as that. But
this sort of begs the question, though, of why do we get into games in the first place? And we have this idea that your experience of getting into a video game should be this absolutely pure thing, where you've heard about a game, you know nothing about it, and you're just like, I want to try this game because it sounds interesting, this World of Warcraft that everyone's playing, and you go and play it. But that's such an unlikely thing. The odds nowadays are that you got into a game because you saw people playing that game online in some video, some piece of content, and it looked really cool. And what you want to learn is how to do the thing that they were doing in that game. But if you don't even know the name of that thing, I mean, think about a piece of gear that you saw people wearing and you had no idea what that piece of gear was. Or think about a battleground that you saw people fighting in World of Warcraft and you had no idea how to even get started in battlegrounds. And then when you finally got to a battleground, you just got steamrolled and you had no idea what was going on. It's very tough to keep up with the mechanics of that game if you don't watch guide videos to explain to you what people are doing, because they're breaking the game in a specific way that allows them to just steamroll someone who's just playing it the way that the tutorial teaches them, like it's nothing.
Overall, I think it's safe to say that
So how are you going to have fun like that? It's like picking up League of Legends in 2024 is extremely difficult if you're just going to play it with your own senses, if you're not going to go and look up what's going on, if you don't know about last hitting your lane, if you don't know about lane control, if you don't know about the mechanics of the battle system, if you don't know how to crowd control somebody, if you don't know how to deal with ganks, these are things that you have to watch videos on, or else you are in for an extremely long period of being miserable playing that game. And RuneScape is different in the way that there is no beat you down, everyone is better than you, and they're rubbing it in your face kind of mechanic. Whereas in all of these other games, you're grouped so much with people, and your competency at that game affects their gameplay, that people will rub your face in how bad you are at the game, and it almost necessitates that you play a guide or else or look at a guide, or else you're going to be miserable playing that
officially
game.
Hooked on OSRS, and I will be playing it a lot for the foreseeable future, and hopefully get to the end game at some point soon. We're almost at 1,000 subs now, which I'm really hyped about. So if you enjoyed this video, please do subscribe.
Good job,
give this video a thumbs up, and I will see.
Well, it's cool to see you playing RuneScape, man. I'm glad to have you in the fray with all of us. I hope to see you walking around and chopping trees and fishing for lobsters and doing Dragon Slayer and getting into the Myths Guild and doing all these things that we all have extremely good memories of. So welcome to the fray, dude. I had a super long day today. This video was a lot of fun to make. It's good to, whenever I see a RuneScape video that actually looks interesting to watch. So I hope you guys enjoyed your day, and give this video a like and subscribe to him, man. He's a small channel, so make sure you guys give that subscribe to him. Be safe out there. Peace.